Being a baddie is a lifestyle, not a one-off plan, Serafina would exclaim whenever the village girls begged her to show them the way. Serafina wasn't like the village girls. She didn't grow up in the village. Her parents had married in the village, but moved to the city for a better life, where they had Serafina. At 16, she lost both her parents and had returned to the village to be cared for by a spinster aunt. Her aunt had never married, even at 45. She was still waiting for her first love, the man who had promised to come back but never did. Every evening, the woman sat by the doorway, her eyes fixed on the road, hope folded neatly inside her wrapper. "It will still come," she would say softly. Serafina never argued. Some dreams were too fragile to touch. Serafina was beautiful. The kind of beauty that didn't require effort. She had long full hair that most wigs could not rival. But Serafina didn't appreciate her natural beauty. Instead, she practiced intense makeup, layering powders and lashes, and wore colorful wigs everywhere, as though her own hair was a secret she refused to reveal. The village boys were drawn in by her beauty and her aura. "She is different," Mama Kunle said one evening to his mother. His mother had already warned him, especially after Serafina demanded 10,000 naira before she would agree to go with him to Mama Bisi's pepper soup shop. Kunle was a palm wine tapper who lived with his aging mother. One keg of palm wine sold for 500 naira. To afford a day to Serafina, Kunle had to sell 20 kegs. 10,000 naira for pepper soup, his mother asked, her eyes wide open. "This girl wants to drink your future." But Kunle was adamant. Day and night he toiled. He climbed trees until his hands blistered and his back ached. After 4 exhausting days, he finally counted the money complete. Joy lifted his feet as he strode towards Serafina's hut, whistling happily. His hand stayed firmly in his pocket, pressing against the money as though afraid it might escape. As he got closer, he heard her sweet laughter. Then, he heard a familiar male voice. Kunle slowed. His heart tightened. He walked closer and froze. There, seated comfortably with Serafina, was his best friend Akin, combing her hair like it was his birthright. "Akin!" Kunle shouted, pointing furiously. "How dare you seduce my woman?" Akin jumped up offended. "Which woman?" he shouted back. "Serafina has agreed to go on a date with me." "You obviously can't take care of her." "Ordinary 10,000 naira. How many days did it take you?" Kunle's chest caved in. Akin knew how he felt about Serafina. He had warned him, even discouraged him, calling her materialistic. Yet here he was, behind his back, wooing her. Before fists could fly, Serafina laughed softly. Boys, calm down," she said lazily. "There's enough to go around." She turned to Kunle. "Kunle, we can go out tomorrow, since you now have the money." Then she faced Akin. Akin brought us first. Such situations happened often with Serafina. They were so frequent that the village almost stopped being shocked. Even married men were not left out. Mama Bisi the pepper soup seller once fought her husband after people saw him washing Serafina's clothes behind her house. By evening, the matter had spread. "Is it pepper soup you're selling?" Mama Bisi asked calmly. "Or laundry services?" Her husband avoided her eyes. Since that day, he no longer passed Serafina's compound. Mama Tade's own case was even more painful. Her husband abandoned her and their 7 children, sold their belongings and gave all the money to Serafina. When Mama Tade confronted Serafina, tired and shaking with anger, the villagers followed behind her. But instead of Serafina apologizing or Baba Tade realizing his mistake, Baba Tade beat his wife for embarrassing in black and blue. Serafina watched quietly. She neither explained nor defended herself. With all this, no one expected what happened next. One sunny morning, Serafina announced she was ready to settle down. Men became restless. They moved around the village, suddenly polite, suddenly responsible, appearing everywhere Serafina appeared. Before long, they began lining up, waiting, watching, hoping. Then Serafina finally spoke again. She wasn't choosing one husband, she was choosing 7. The women laughed. They were sure the men would leave. Men were jealous by nature, everyone knew that. But instead, the men relaxed. 7 meant there was still a chance. When the selection was made, Sarafina chose Kunle the palm wine tapper, Akin the fisherman, Bala the rich merchant, Samson the strongest wrestler, Femi the city returnee, Prince from a neighboring village, and Toby the quiet, unemployed young man with blue eyes. People murmured when Toby's name was called. Sarafina only said his look suited her soul and that he sang beautifully. The village fell silent. 7 men? 1 woman! And for the first time, even the village baddie had everyone wondering what would happen next. At first, having 7 husbands was everything Sarafina dreamed of. Every morning, she woke up to the sound of voices, competing for attention. Kunle the palm wine tapper brought fresh water, balancing the heavy buckets like a soldier on a parade. "Good morning, my queen," he said one day, bowing slightly. "Your bath awaits." Bala the rich merchant strode up the path with a bundle of silk and herbs, tapping his chest proudly. "Only the finest for the finest," he said, tossing the parcels at her feet. Akin the fisherman hummed off key while combing her hair, completely convinced of his musical genius. Samson the wrestler carried heavy stones and twigs, flexing as if Sarafina had assigned him a private gym session. Femi boasted of gadgets from the city, which mostly ended up broken in our hut. Prince gave her exotic fruits and stories of royal traditions, and Toby, quiet, shy, blue-eyed Toby, watched it all silently, occasionally smiling softly, his calm presence almost soothing. Sarafina reclined on her porch, wig slightly tilted, eyeing them like a queen inspecting her court. "Not bad, not bad," she muttered to herself, sipping palm wine, all in line, all mine. For the first few days, life was perfect. They cooked, cleaned, fetched water, polished her shoes, argued politely over who got to sit closest to her. Serafina's laughter filled the air like music. Then came the first night in bed she had arranged for all 7. Kunle was already snoring in one corner when Samson elbowed him. "You moved my side," Samson whispered harshly. "I did not. You're the one who's too heavy," Kunle replied, gritting his teeth. Akin tried to mediate, accidentally poking Femi with a pillow. Femi squealed. Bala laughed too loudly, waking Prince, who insisted on rearranging the blankets. Serafina groaned, burying her head in her pillow. 7 men, 7 headache, 7 disasters, she thought. By morning, she had dark eye bags forming, like tiny shadows protesting her once glamorous mornings. Even her makeup couldn't cover them properly. The pillow wars escalated nightly. Men tried sneaky tactics, stealing blankets, guiding her slippers. Sarafina began to wish for solitude, but her pride wouldn't allow it. Meanwhile, the village women were growing tired. One night, they met in secret. "Have you seen them? 7 men running around our hut," Mama Bisi whispered. "They cook, they clean, they steal the village's attention," another said, shaking her head. Their solution? Passive aggression at its finest. For weeks, Sarafina and her husband were subtly cut off. Pepper soup ran out whenever she arrived. Firewood sold out, baskets missing, and gossip flowed freely. The men began to feel the sting. Without support, their coordination broke down. Each tried harder to impress Sarafina, each trying to outwit the other, diabolically and tactically, each carrying the next in small but cunning ways. Kunle tried setting traps in the yard, hoping to catch Akin sleeping. Akin retaliated by dumping fish guts into Kunle water buckets. Bala hired helpers to sneakily sabotage Samson's lifting exercises. Femi concocted powders meant to charm Sarafina, which instead caused tiny explosions in the house. Prince, ever regal, tried subtle intimidation. Samson wrestled anything that moved. Meanwhile, Sarafina walked through it all, observing the chaos with half-amused, half-exasperated eyes. One night, disaster struck. The men combined tactics collided. Femi's powder mixed with Bala herbs, and Akin's fish prank all landed on Sarafina. When she awoke, she realized with horror her skin had turned green and slimy like a frog who had been lunging in a swamp. "Ah! What have you idiots done?" she groaned, patting her face with a towel that stuck to her like glue. The men froze. Kunle, Bala, Akin, Samson, Femi and Prince glanced at each other nervously. Even Serafina could only glare at them with one slimy eye. One by one, they slowly left. Kunle wailed into a palm wine keg, exhausted. Bala packed his sick parcels, muttering curses under his breath. Samson wandered into the bush, lifting random rocks in frustration. Femi ran to the park, muttering about the city opportunities. Prince returned to his village, embarrassed by his own incompetence. Akin disappeared quietly, muttering about bad luck and bad wives. Only Toby remained, calm, quiet, and unaffected. But one day, Toby got a gig with a record label. He was to sing in the village market, performing for crowds as Serafina watched. With her green skin glistening in the sun, slime slowly drying. Her aunt, at last reunited with her long-lost lover, departed, leaving Serafina alone in the fading light. For the first time in years, she sat quietly on her porch, the wig tilted, high bags prominent, her green skin still shimmering faintly in the sun. She reached for a cup of palm wine and whispered to herself, "Well, at least I had fun." Thank you so much for watching to this point, besties. I really hope you enjoyed the story as much as I enjoyed making it. Please like, share, subscribe, leave a comment if you haven't already. And as always, I'll see you in my next video. Bye, besties!